We're halfway through our live action here at Turning Stone Resort Casino in Verona, New York. Next up, David Lemieux takes on Curtis Stevens in our main event. A classic matchup between two heavy-fisted middleweights who have made no secret about their distaste for each other.
It's an important fight for me. This fight is going to lead me to where I want to go, and that's back on top.
I can't lose. I'm not taking no more steps back. I only want to go up from here.
I want to beat him so bad he's going to retire.
Like, I want to hurt him. Yeah, shut him up, because he told me I couldn't last 5 rounds in his world.
You guy's a clown. You're just adding more gas on the fire. It's not really a crossroad fights for me. More for him because, I didn't need this fight.
Some people may say it's a crossroads fight to get me to the next level. I'm in a mix of it, but I'm not where I want to be.
There's a lot of weaknesses. I'm going to expose that on Saturday.
I expect him to come. Just give it to him. Let him run into something. Or make him quit. What they say, no mas. But I don't know how they say it in French.
March 15th, it's another installment of UConn, The March to Madness, offering a unique look at the personalities behind the Lady Huskies basketball team as they pursue their 12th national title. Saturday, March 18, live from Madison Square Garden, one of boxing's biggest stars will fight under New York City's brightest lights, Gennady Triple G Golovkin.
What we just saw was not ordinary, it was extraordinary.
The undefeated Kazakh star has won his last 23 fights by knockout, but standing in his way is Brooklyn's own Daniel Miracle Man Jacobs. Jacobs is riding his own 12-fight knockout streak, entering this middleweight showdown.
There's a lot to like from Danny Jacobs so far. You see the natural ability.
It should be an electric night from the Garden, live on HBO pay-per-view. Also that night, it's boxing's consensus pound-for-pound #1, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez. The Nicaraguan sensation looks to continue his undefeated streak against Srikaset Sorungbisa. On Tuesday, March 21, it's a new episode of the Emmy Award-winning sports journalism show Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel. April 8, it's the return of one of boxing's top performers, Ukrainian Vasily Lomachenko. In his last fight against unbeaten Nicholas Walters, Lomachenko put on a dominant performance, leading to an impressive stoppage victory.
Lomachenko's toying Nicholas Walters.
Now Lomachenko sets his sights on once-beaten Jason Sosa. April 19, it's the return of my show, The Fight Game. Join me, Max Kellerman, Bernard Hopkins, and Melissa Stark as we examine the biggest stories and most important issues in the world of boxing. On Monday, April 24, catch the premiere of Canelo Chavez Jr., A Fighting Tradition. This 30-minute special will explore Mexico's historic boxing tradition and look forward to the upcoming showdown between the country's two most popular stars, Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. April 29, it's more Canelo Chavez Jr. programming. Alvarez and Chavez Jr. sat down with Max Kellerman for an intense face-off. And Saturday, May 6th, it's the live fight. Mexican superstar Canelo Alvarez returns to the ring after his latest knockout victory last September.
A big right hand over the top by Canelo Alvarez.
Now he's moving up over 10 pounds in weight to face off against Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., the popular son of the immortal Mexican boxing legend.
Huge right hand. Chavez has his chance.
Cinco de Mayo weekend. Canelo Chavez Jr. in an all-Mexican showdown live on HBO pay-per-view. Don't miss a moment of the action. For more information on the schedule and the fighters, go to hbo.com/boxing. And now for something we expect to be entirely different, Max. We made it through the preliminary fight. Here come two hard-punching middleweights, very familiar to our audience. What is at stake between them?
Right, this is not just some tournament where you win and move on. Look, these two guys are both offensive-minded, big punchers who are nevertheless destroyed by Triple G, who you can see on HBO pay-per-view next week against Danny Jacobs, as you just saw. And so one of these two needs to advance in a spectacular way, in a way that makes the boxing public believe that they can threaten the top of the division. For example, the winner of Triple G and Danny Jacobs. It's not, the old adage in boxing, win this time, look good the next time. You got to win and look good this time. Certainly not the case in our first fight tonight. Hopefully it will be the case in the main event.
Okay, so both fighters are dreaming of getting another title shot. Roy Jones, which of the two
in your view, seems more equipped to get it done tonight?
I think it's kind of even, Jim. Relatively new trainer, John David Jackson, working with Curtis Stevens. This is their second fight together. Brings a little bit more energy to Curtis Stevens, I think. Makes him go back in his little dictionary a little more and pull out a few things that he used to do that he doesn't do anymore. With Lemieux, he is a guy who wants to get back to the top and prove that he can overcome the guy that beat him before, which is Gennady Golovkin. So with him being as hungry as he is, with Curtis having a new trainer, I kind of give the edge to Lemieux, but both of them are hungry, and I can't wait to see who wins and prevails tonight.
They're both hard punchers. I also think Lemieux's a little bit the harder puncher. We'll see what happens in the fight. Let's take a look at the tail of the tape for David Lemieux and Curtis Stevens in the middleweight division. You see the 4-year age advantage for Lemieux. He's also got a 2-inch height advantage. He's got a 1-inch arm length advantage, measured from the armpit to the end of the fist. They both weighed in within 1 pound of the 160-pound limit, and just to add another advantage for Lemieux, he's rehydrated up to 177, so he will carry a functional 7-pound weight advantage into the ring against Curtis Stevens tonight, according to our unofficial HBO scale. Meanwhile, let's take a look at how they did against Gennady Golovkin, not in terms of what they did, in terms of what Golovkin did to them. And you can see that Golovkin delivered very similar damage to both of them over the course of 8 rounds, the only difference being a difference in style. He fought a more precise, more technical fight against Lemieux, many more jabs. You see the 51% connect percentage, only 549 punches thrown, whereas in the same distance, same period of time against Stevens, he threw 250 more punches, connected at a lower percentage. That was a little bit more of a slugfest kind of fight.
Here at the Turning Stone Resort Casino, we are just a few miles away from the prestigious International Boxing Hall of Fame, where for this week the flags remain at half-mast in mourning for a passing of a legendary figure from the world of boxing. Lou Duva dedicated his life for almost 70 years to the sport. He was known as a manager, a promoter, but he made his mark as a legendary trainer of world champions. 19 men became world champions, capturing almost 36 world titles under his tutelage. He was passionate in his corner. He was dedicated to the welfare of his fighters, and he will always be remembered and never forgotten as one of the all-time great characters in the sport of boxing. At this time, we would like to honor his memory with a final count of 10 from our timekeeper at ringside for the memory of Lou Duva. Rest in peace, Lou. And now, with dedication to Lou Duva, the show must go on. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the ring for our main event, please welcome Curtis, the Cerebral Assassin Stevens.
So, Curtis Stevens enters. You heard the relatively new nickname, the Cerebral Assassin. That nickname means he's almost talking to himself, trying to get himself to fight in a way that recognizes sensible aggression as opposed to all-out, unbridled aggression.
And also, sensible aggression for him sometimes means moving those hands. He can really punch and sometimes waits around too long to land the big one.
Et maintenant, mesdames et messieurs, David Lemieux!
French-Canadian David Lemieux from Montreal. Early in his career, he was somewhat typecast as a vicious right-hand knockout puncher. Worked so hard over the years on his left hook that now his left hook may be even the more effective power punch. We saw him destroy Gabe Rosado with a series of left hooks prior to his showdown with Gennady Golovkin. He really thought he was going to be able to get something done against Golovkin. He seemed a little bit thrown off when Golovkin came in the first round and threw 50 jabs and made him participate in a boxing match rather than a slugfest.
That's a cerebral assassin.
That's correct.
Lemieux is a dynamic offensive fighter.
And now let's go to Michael Buffer one more time.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, from the Turning Stone Resort Casino, Verona, New York, Oscar de la Hoya's Golden Boy Promotions, in association with Main Events Promotions, proudly presents the featured bout of the evening. 12 rounds of boxing in the middleweight division. On the line, the WBC Continental Americas title and vacant IBF North American and WBO Intercontinental middleweight titles. Sponsored by Tecate, Born Bold, and Casa Mexico Tequila. It's in the taste. And live on HBO pay-per-view May 6th, Canelo Alvarez versus J.C. Chavez Jr. This bout sanctioned by the Oneida Indian Nation Athletic Commission Commissioner Daniel Gustafson. At ringside, the three judges scoring: Glenn Feldman, Tom Schreck, Don Trella. And inside the ring, the man in charge of the action at the bell, your referee, Charlie Fitch. And now, the officials are in place and they are ready. The fighters are in the ring and they are ready. Boxing fans, are you ready? For the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, ladies and gentlemen, from the Turning Stone Resort Casino, Verona, New York, let's get ready to rumble! Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing white trimmed with black and gold, official weight 158 1/4 pounds. He's in its corner with his trainer John David Jackson with a record of 29 victories, 21 wins by knockout with 5 defeats. From Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York, the reigning and defending WBC Continental America's middleweight champion, Curtis, the Cerebral Assassin Stevens. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner with his trainer Mark Ramsey. He's wearing black with gold letters, officially weighing in at 159 pounds. His professional record, 36 victories, 32 wins by knockout against 3 defeats. From Montreal, Quebec, Canada, the former IBF middleweight champion of the world, David Lemieux.
Let me just see your goals real quick. To get the mouthpiece. Oh, it gets us? Okay. They got to get the mouthpiece. They got to get their mouthpiece. Mm-hmm. They're getting their mouthpiece. They forgot it. Yeah. Yep, they have it.
So apparently there's a forgotten mouthpiece in the blue corner. And now someone has to go to the dressing room and get a mouthpiece for Curtis Stevens. Okay, now they've found one. It's an unusual interruption on the way to the beginning of the fight.
Ladies and gentlemen, you both know the rules. Make this a clean fight and protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves now, come out fighting at the bell.
Curtis Stevens has looked much better in recent fights. Always a big puncher, but John David Jackson has him boxing aggressively, effectively. Lemieux has achieved higher heights and has greater upside, but Roy and Jim, he's looked in better shape to the naked eye in the past.
100%. He looks a little fleshy to me.
Hopefully he hasn't underestimated Curtis Stevens and Curtis Stevens' power.
Sometimes when a guy rehydrates by a big number overnight, it means that he had to struggle to make weight, starched himself, and then desperately needed to pour in the rehydration. And you saw that Lemieux had a 7-pound advantage at 177 coming in.
They are both huge punchers.
Big left hook by Curtis Stevens, and they're both huge punchers. And for both of them at this point, Max, I think the money punch is the left hook.
Yep, but they can hurt you with either hand, and they're throwing them right now.
And Curtis's left hook is looking more deadly right now. He's really trying to knock Lemieux out, and Lemieux is really trying to knock him out.
Yeah, it doesn't look like either fighter wants to go the distance. 12 rounds tonight.
Good right hand by Lemieux.
There's some genuine bad blood between these two. The build up to the fight.
And there's a bad taste in the mouths of the audience after having watched the desultory fight which preceded this. So now they're eager to see action, and Lemieux and Stevens are going to give it to them.
And concussive action. I mean, these punches are huge shots.
Yeah, we've already got more action in this fight than we had in the last the whole 10 rounds.
Exactly right.
Good right hand by
less than a minute and a half.
Yes.
Good right hand by
Stevens.
Lemieux comes into this fight hoping to make the kind of impression that makes him viable not only for an eventual Triple G rematch, though I don't know what kind of interest there'd be in that considering how one-sided the fight was, but also as a potential Canelo.
Hard right hand by Lemieux. Stevens was hurt by that shot.
Stevens was indeed hurt by the right hand.
Lemieux better be careful though, because Stevens does still have that hook. There it is.
Yep, both big fight-changing power in both hands, both guys.
Good hook
hard
and
right
good
hand by
right.
Lemieux. Now Stevens lands a right of his own. Good shots from both guys. Left hook by Lemieux, upstairs and downstairs. Right hand to following.
And Curtis answers. I told y'all we was going to get a good one.
Curtis has got to be looking at Lemieux and thinking that he can weather the storm early. It's a winnable fight.
Of course. He's hoping that Lemieux wears himself out punching.
But it's a full storm early.
Sure is.
Lemieux just has to try to pace himself as Curtis is doing.
See who starts to go to the body with conviction here.
Both of them been
already
trying.
landed 30 hard shots in the round. We've still got 20 seconds to go.
But both have been trying, especially Lemieux. Like that right there.
10 seconds to the bell.
Oh, good hook by Lemieux. Oh, he hurt Curtis bad.
Lemieux.
Yeah, that hurt Curtis bad that time.
Lemieux is such a big puncher. The reason Triple G boxed so technically against him.
Stevens makes it out of the round, and you see the look of trepidation on his mother's face. One day after her son turned 32 years old, she watched him take a fusillade of hard punches in the first round from David Lemieux.
Okay? Roll a little bit. That will open up for you, and you go to the body. Yeah, give me a favor. Go to the body this round. Take the body down. Deep breath, deep breath. You're doing good. Weather the storm for me. Okay? When you get close, give me a few shots.
Here you see Lemieux land a right hand first. Over the top of the jab. A beautiful overhand right, but it was high on the head. Seemed to knock Curtis off balance more than anything. Then Curtis come back with a counter hook right there that hit him on the neck. He missed the chin as well, followed by two right hands. Then Lemieux caught him with a hook right here at the end of the round that really seemed to hurt Stevens and cause him some problems. We saw his legs buckle just a little bit then. Great body work after that shot by Lemieux.
Round two begins, and in exactly the same vein as Lemieux drives Stevens to the ropes and starts firing away again.
It could be really interesting if Curtis can survive this, because again, Lemieux does not look like he's in the best shape of his career.
Exactly right.
And he better not punch himself out, because if he does, he's going to have a problem, because Curtis knows how to maintain.
Stevens trying to weather the storm upstairs and mix in some punishment downstairs on that seemingly soft Lemieux belly.
Think that represents a lack of respect for Stevens on Lemieux's part, Roy?
No, I think he just thinks he's the bigger guy, and I don't think that he's ever been too cut up much more than he is right now. But maybe that putting on the extra weight also caused him to blow up like that.
Well, he actually had a canceled fight last summer because of a failure to make weight. So you don't know exactly what's going on in Lemieux's life all the time. And maybe there's been some indifference in training. His trainer, Mark Ramsey, is a very serious guy who usually demands a lot out of the fighters. But, of course, David Lemieux's a big-money fighter and gets to do what he wants to do.
No, not in Mark Ramsey's gym. If you do what you want to do in Mark Ramsey's gym, he's going to put you out of there. So he demands that his guys respect him and give him the work that he asks for.
He did make weight, Lemieux. He's entitled to put on that extra
Hard
weight.
right hand by Stevens.
But he just looks like a fighter banking on an early knockout.
He is, and he better not be banking on that, because if Curtis is still around, Curtis is very dangerous. Good hook by Lemieux. Good right hand by Curtis.
Lemieux is slowing down just a little bit.
Yes, he is.
I don't know whether that means he's settling in for the long haul, or whether he's lost some of that initial burst of energy.
Well, I think he's surprised that Curtis Stevens took his punches as well as he did.
Now Lemieux begins to jab.
So he's wasting a lot of power shots on Curtis's gloves, Jim.
Stevens is biding his time, not throwing nearly as many as Lemieux. He's trying to make them count when he does, like that left hook right there.
Yeah, he's saving himself, and he's trying to knock out.
Big left hook to the body.
Not trying to waste as many punches as Lemieux is wasting.
Yeah, Stevens under Jackson's tutelage has been efficient, has been economical.
Good body shot. That hurt. That hurt Lemieux right there. Good left body shot by Stevens.
Lemieux, some of these shots, Roy, look now like, let me keep this guy off of me kind of shots from Lemieux.
Yeah, but Curtis hurt him with a body shot bad just now.
5 seconds left in the second round. It's been action all the way. And a little bit of a seesaw as Lemieux dominated the first round and Curtis Stevens came back.
Real good middleweight slugfest.
Ça se peut qu'on se ramasse dans une soirée qui va être plus longue que prévu, David, OK? C'est pour ça que je veux que tu travailles en dehors de ton jab. Tu me gardes à longue distance.
I want you to work with the jab. Every time you get him, it's because you have to keep some distance between him and you. The only thing that... So that's the drill. You just box and box, and you go on the fence. Don't go for the big shot. I just want you to
Curtis
box.
Stevens land the best shot that he's landed all night, which is a beautiful left body shot to the liver. And you see Lemieux snatch that arm down right there. That lets you know that that shot hurt it. It hurt bad.
David Lemieux came in looking for an early knockout. Clearly, now gets to round number 3. It would still be an early knockout if he can get it done. But some of the mustard seemed to have disappeared from his punches by the end of round number 2. Curtis Stevens, Friday, I should say, yesterday, had the kind of birthday that every weight class fighter dreams of. Made weight in the morning and then got to have a birthday party afterward.
I like what Stevens is doing here.
Good left hook by Stevens.
They're starting to
shake Lemieux just a little bit.
Yeah, he's starting to touch Lemieux more with both hands, the left and the right.
Steady pressure, and the touching leads to the harder touching, like right now.
And not
a
devastating
loss for Lemieux if it happened. He came here clearly expecting to win. Stevens wasn't quite so outspoken, wasn't quite so adamant about it.
Well, yes, he was. He said he's not going to lose this fight.
And Stevens has made strides under John David Jackson. There's no two ways about it.
In fact, it's a particularly strong corner with Jackson and Chief second Rudy Hernandez, which is why it was shocking that they failed to bring the mouthpiece to the corner at the beginning of the fight. You don't expect that from that professional corner.
Of course, good hook by
Lemieux has the kind of power where even if Stevens starts to do good work and the momentum seems to have shifted, Lemieux can shift it back again in an eye blink.
Dangerous at any time. Good right hand to the body by Lemieux.
Shifted all the way back is in a knockout. But so can Stevens.
That's exactly right, Max.
There it is. Stevens.
Out cold.
And out cold. Knockout victory. Lemieux got what he was looking for on a perfect right-hand shot.
No, left hook. Left hook, Jim.
Left hook.
Left hook right to the chin.
Guys, that's the knockout of the year so far, I believe.
By far.
That was a bomb.
He put Stevens to sleep in a fight where it looked like Stevens was coming on, like Lemieux's future was in jeopardy. Just had the feeling of the kind of fight where Lemieux could get stopped. And Stevens, there's concern around him right now.
That was a bomb. Curtis Stevens' mother has come to ringside now and put her hands on her son and now pulled him back. As the doctor is looking at him very carefully. And David Lemieux walks around cockily as if to say, well, I knew exactly what was going to happen.
This is disconcerting because generally someone is not unconscious this long after a knockout.
He's breathing.
However, the really dangerous kind of ring tragedy fights are generally fights that occur over many rounds of sustained punishment. This was not that.
Exactly right. This was a one-punch shot. That's his mother.
He'll be okay. I mean,
only a few feet away from her son. Has to be an agonizing period of time for her. Roy Jones, we haven't seen a harder shot than this in a long time.
Now, that's the hardest one I've seen this year, Jim. That was a beautifully placed left hook right on the button after the overhand right. He threw, straight right. He threw it straight right down the pipe. And Curtis tried to throw the hook, and he beat him to the punch with the hook. Curtis threw a hook. His hook didn't land. David's hook did land.
Short left hook. Didn't travel more than 10 or 12 inches.
Joe Louis-like.
Perfect.
Once again, beautiful straight right hand. And they traded hooks right here, but oh, my goodness. David's hook hit the button. Curtis's hook didn't.
So that's the knockout power we're talking about when we discuss David Lemieux. Explosive, and this is a perfect illustration. Stevens was unconscious at that moment.
Yes, he was. Real-time action. Wow.
Lemieux celebrating, but not terribly demonstratively, as the focus now is on the legitimate medical concern for Curtis Stevens, who's now being strapped onto a gurney at ringside as his mother waits and watches. This is one of those moments that reminds you that boxing is not a game.
Very violent sport.
Fighters, in effect, are always fighting for their lives as well as their livelihoods. Curtis Stevens moving his hands, as you can see there, so clearly he's now conscious. And perhaps aware of what happened to him.
No, I still don't think he'll be aware for a little while, Jim. I've had that happen a couple of times, and you're not really conscious of what's going on until a little while later, so he'll be out of his mind for a little while longer, but he will bounce back.
So you're saying that the night that Glenn Johnson knocked you out, for instance, you weren't aware until you were in the dressing room exactly what had gone down?
Exactly, because I was dehydrated, shot caught me, I was out of it.
Let's go to Michael Buffer for the official particulars on the knockout.
Ladies and gentlemen, here at the Turning Stone Resort Casino, referee Charlie Fitch, immediately following the knockdown, calls a halt to the contest. The winner at 1 minute 59 seconds of round number 3 by knockout victory, from Montreal, Quebec, Canada, former middleweight world champion David Lemieux.
Let's take a look at final copy box numbers. In this brief fight, Lemieux came out firing, dominated the first round, piled up a punch that edge over Curtis Stevens. Ultimately, the copy box numbers find Lemieux landing 57 more punches, 93-36, throwing 161 more punches, and landing it by at a higher percentage. Curtis Stevens gave an account of himself in there and landed some very good, clean shots. And then ultimately in round number 3, Lemieux landed the thunderous punch that brought an end to the fight. He landed 56% of his power shots. And despite the fact that he looked a little bit out of shape, nevertheless got done exactly what he was wanting to get done. Now let's go to Max Kellerman with David Lemieux.
Congratulations, David, on one of the most devastating and scariest one-punch knockouts I've ever seen, to tell you the truth. Tell me about it.
I told you before I did it. I told you what I was going to do tonight, and I did it. You know, I hope he's healthy and everything goes good, you know.
What do you see here? We're replaying it right here.
I see checkmate. It's a perfect connection, and it's been what we've been practicing for and what we've been looking for to do.
Physically, to be candid, you did not look as cut up as you sometimes do before the fight. You looked like you were heavier, like not in the best shape of your career. And he started to seem to give you some problems in the second round before that one-punch shot. Were you in the best shape?
Absolutely. I was in very great shape. Actually, the reason I slowed down was because my trainer was telling me to relax and find the openings and pick your shots properly instead of wasting your shots for nothing. So we paced it ourselves, and as the openings came, we took him. I was in great shape, actually. You know, I had a great camp leading up to this fight, and like I said, we have big plans ahead.
Did you feel his power at all when he was coming on in that second round?
Yeah, he's a strong guy. He's a physically strong guy, but nothing impressive. Nothing that slowed me down, as you saw.
That was such an impressive display of one-punch knockout power. Do you think it puts you right back in the mix?
Well, I told you guys where I was going to be, and I said it, and I did it, and I guess you guys tell me if you think I should be back in the pick. I think I think the fans want to see great fights, and I have great fights to give. Whenever I come out, I give the fans my heart out on the ring, and you always see the 100% of me. Stevens was a solid fighter. We trained very well for him, and we came to do what we needed to do, and we did. We were successful.
Assuming that this is not enough to get you the fight you really want, which is to avenge the defeat to Triple G yet, who else is out there that you would be interested in facing coming up?
Of course, we want to face the best fighters out there. Definitely, you know, whatever name is up there, I want to face them. You know, there's Saunders, who has the title. There's Canelo, that we've been talking about a lot. Canelo is a solid fighter, a great fighter. And for sure, there's the Kingpin, Golovkin, that for sure I would love to defeat.
Congratulations, David. That was like a Julian Jackson-esque knockout. That was truly a memorable one. And, of course, we all hope that Curtis Stevens is okay. Jim?
All right. Thank you very much, Max Kellerman. We'll take one more look at the trade of left hooks that wound up so much in David Lemieux's favor. The quick, short, as Roy Jones called it, Joe Louis-style left hook that knocked Curtis Stevens cold and left him flat on the canvas. So Max and David, I think, very accurately discussed the current state of the division and the three possible opponents for David Lemieux as he goes forward. Billy Joe Saunders, Canelo Alvarez. I don't know about Triple G, but I'm certain that fans would want to see David against either of the other two. You agree?
Yeah, we'd like to see David against either of the other two, because against those guys, we know that David Lemieux has the power to knock either one of them out, just like they have the ability to outbox him. I just want to say that I did tell you that we were going to get our money's worth.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Main event, and we did get our money's worth in that main event.
Absolutely. And he says that he was indeed in good shape. We saw the belly being a little bit sort of, I don't know, fluffy looking. It didn't look like it was a hard belly, but maybe that was the right kind of shape to do what he wanted to do.
Well, when you're fighting another guy who's almost a mirror image of you, which is a puncher, you want to do like Max doesn't like. You want to pull down, but put on as much weight as possible so that if you trade punches, your punch will have a little bit more weight on it than his punch if both of you can really punch. So that's the whole advantage of pulling down the day before and going back up as high as you can after. Because if we're equal, then if we trade punches like they almost did, the one with the most mass is probably going to have the most effect. And I told you too that if he's training in Mark Ramsey's gym, he's in shape. Believe that Mark Ramsey will not have you in his gym and you not be in shape.
All right. Thanks very much, Roy Jones. Matt Kellerman, he shares his promoter with Canelo Alvarez. Is there a scenario by which they could meet?
There is, because he's an exciting fighter and a marketable fighter and a huge puncher. That was not normal. Look, I say all this hoping that and believing that Curtis Stevens will be okay. And I say that because generally tragic circumstances in boxing arise when a fighter has such a good chin and he's facing another fighter who's not such a terrific puncher that he sustains 10 or 12 straight rounds of head trauma, essentially. That wasn't this fight. Folks, I've seen a lot of boxing in my life, and that is one of the most devastating one-punch knockouts I have ever seen in any weight division. Generally, especially early in a fight, you do not see a shot land that has an opponent out for that long. It's a scary circumstance because it's so unusual in my experience. Curtis Stevens was completely unconscious for a long time, so we all hope he's okay. And generally under these circumstances, the fighter does turn out to be okay. And having said that, oh my God, what a knockout shot from David Lemieux. He is a viable opponent at middleweight going forward because of that power for anyone.
We promised you mayhem. At the end of the day, that's what we got. Needless to say, Curtis Stevens is now being taken to a hospital for observation. We wish him the very, very best. Congratulations to Lemieux on doing what he said unabashedly that he was going to be able to do, which is to put Curtis Stevens to sleep. Thanks for being with us here at Turning Stone. Remember to stay tuned to HBO for 2 days. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez for a behind-the-scenes look at the Nicaraguan national hero at his last fight back in September. And we'll see you again next Saturday night from Madison Square Garden when HBO pay-per-view brings you the middleweight unification fight between Triple G, Gennady Golovkin, and Daniel Jacobs, as well as the aforementioned Chocolatito defending his 115-pound crown against Srivkaset Surrungvisai. And there's a lot more coming your way in the upcoming months from HBO and HBO pay-per-view, including UConn, the March to Madness, and a new installment of Real Sports. On the boxing side, Vasily Lomachenko faces Jason Sosa. We have the season premiere of The Fight Game, Canelo versus Chavez Jr., a fighting tradition. And finally, the all-Mexican clash between Canelo Alvarez and Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. And now for our entire HBO crew, I'm Jim Lampley saying so long from Verona, New York.
This has been a presentation